Hello everyone, my name is Saskia Watson. I have passed the HSK 4, 5 and 6 tests and I am currently studying to pass the HSK 7, 8 or 9 test depending on where I feel I am when I can actually write them. Okay, so I'm going to be telling you guys how long it actually took to reach all the different levels of HSK. So I went to China to study Chinese and I had not studied Chinese before I arrived in China. So when I got there, I initially did not have anyone to help me. I wasn't enrolled in anything. I was just kind of studying it by myself. I feel like that is a huge mistake, and I think that's something that you could possibly do if you were studying maybe a Romance language like Spanish or Italian, but even then I still think it's quite difficult. I think that's one of my biggest mistakes, and one of the best things I did was actually find a private Chinese tutor who would tutor me for 4 hours every week, twice a week, 2 hours each session. Then on top of that, I would do a lot of homework and practicing by myself. So within 9 months, I was able to reach HSK 3 level. Now, please keep in mind that that was the only thing that I was doing. I was not enrolled in any other program and all I was focusing on was studying Chinese. So for the first 5 months, I didn't even learn how to write Chinese or read Chinese. I was just focused on learning pinyin and the pronunciation of Chinese and how to verbalize certain things and how to ask for certain things like basic Chinese or survival Chinese. Then I started learning how to write and read, and again, I was only able to reach a very low level of reading towards the end of that year. So I had reached about HSK 3 level, and then my Chinese teacher said to me, I was located in Shenzhen at that time, and she said to me, I really think that you should apply to study at Shenzhen University. You could possibly apply to be a Bachelor Program student there, or you could be a language program student. So I then decided to go to Shenzhen University and check out the different programs that they had. I went over there and I asked them about it, and they recommended that I do a language program. They said that I could skip 1 year of my bachelor's if I had reached HSK 4. However, I was not near HSK 4 level, so I then decided that I was going to do a language program first and try to get to HSK 4 in the next 6 months. So I then flew back to my home country of South Africa and I spent about 2 months just basically in my room studying Chinese every single day. Now I know that this is not actually feasible for a lot of people, so please keep in mind that I was putting in 100% of my effort to try and increase my Chinese. So when I had arrived in Shenzhen again and I was doing my language program, we were taking morning classes, and then in the afternoon I would practice my Chinese and I would try and study more Chinese by myself. By the end of that semester, I wrote my HSK 4 test and I did pass it. So I was very happy about that. Now you might think, well, how did you get from 0 to HSK 3 within like 9 months, and then it took you 6 months just to get to HSK 4? Now that's because each level is twice as difficult as the previous level. So it's not going to take you that long to get to HSK 1 or HSK 2, but from HSK 3 to HSK 4, there's a significant gap. So then you're kind of pushing between intermediate Chinese to a higher level of Chinese. And there's a very, very big gap where you have to learn hundreds to thousands of characters and memorize many words and how to write everything and different pronunciation. It becomes more important, stuff like that. So it takes much, much longer. So I then started my bachelor's program as a second-year student, as I was able to skip the first year because I reached HSK 4 before that. So I skipped the first year and I started my second year of Bachelor of Arts in Chinese Language and Culture at Shenzhen University. So I even then felt like I was kind of behind a lot of the students in my class. They were definitely a lot more comfortable and had been speaking Chinese for quite a long time before they enrolled. So one of my classmates said that they were going to go write HSK 5 at the end of that year. So that was 6 months after my HSK 4 test. I then decided that I would really like to go with them and write it. And I definitely don't recommend this because I definitely didn't have enough time to prepare for my HSK 5. However, I studied really hard and I did just managed to pass the test. So I did get HSK 5, but it was definitely not with a good score. I think I got 185 out of 300, and that was a very poor pass. So then what I did, instead of writing my HSK 6 like 6 months later, I just decided to focus on my Chinese by myself. So I did very intense courses of Chinese in the morning and in the afternoon as per my degree, and I studied a lot on my extra time as well. I would also write many essays. I would do movie reviews of different movies, whether they were English or in Chinese. I tried to watch as much Chinese TV as I could. I tried to speak as much Chinese as I could, and I only wrote my HSK 6 2 years after writing my HSK 5. I did manage to pass really well. However, it was still quite challenging to write it. I definitely think that the difference between HSK 5 and HSK 6 is significant, and just because you have 1 year doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be able to bridge that gap and get there. So even when I finished my HSK 6 test and I knew the results and I knew I had passed quite well, I still didn't feel like I had conquered that mountain, and I still didn't feel like I was fluent in Chinese. So I am actually very happy that they're bringing in an HSK 7, 8 and 9, because I feel like maybe when I get to HSK 9 I'll feel a lot more confident with my Chinese. But right now I am probably at the same Chinese level as a middle school Chinese student. I can definitely still talk to adults and everything. I have a lot of friends my age that are Chinese that I can talk to, but when it comes to specialized vocabulary, I'm still only probably at like a middle school or primary school student level. So I would say that if you are going from 0 to HSK 6, you could probably expect to intensely study for 4 years to reach it, or you could probably study less intensely but for possibly 6 to 8 years in order to reach that level. So I hope this helps you guys on your Chinese language learning journey. Please ask any questions down below and I'll make sure to answer back to you.